Hey friends, I wanted to create a few videos for you guys because a lot of times we have kids at home and they might be driving you out of your mind, or they need to be at the house with you. Maybe you need to get work done, or maybe you're just a really creative kiddo and you need some good project ideas and you need something to help you stir that creativity. So I want to create a few videos for you and share with you a few fun projects and ideas that you can do at home with very little materials. And I hope that you'll join me. We're gonna have a lot of fun and turn a time of, I don't know what to do, into, wow, that was actually really beautiful and amazing. So follow along, can't wait to create with you. Hey friends, so for this project, we're gonna do a couple of different things and I'm gonna show you the supplies I have. You can just get creative with what you have. If you don't have the same materials that I do, that's totally okay. But I have some watercolors, I have a piece of paper. You can use a copy paper, but if you have some thicker paper or even watercolor paper, that's awesome. I just have a jar of water. You can use a bottled water, or you just need some water. And then I have a paintbrush. This is just one that came in the watercolor set. Then I also have some crayons, and you can really use any kind of crayons. So use what you have, but that's kind of, and then I have a Sharpie, which you can just use a regular pen if you don't have a Sharpie, and it could be any kind of Sharpie. The very first part of this, I love doing this project because you don't really have to think about anything. You don't have to worry about, do I think I'm good at drawing or not? This is just, and this is good for adults too. This is really fun, I love it. If you don't know, with colors, there's something called warm colors and cool colors. So if you know what those are, I want you to tell somebody else right now, these are the warm colors and these are the cool colors. So for warm colors, we're thinking of like things that would be a fire. Maroons, oranges, yellows. I need to find some of my yellows. Well, I've got a bunch of oranges and like red. So anything that kind of reminds you of a fire, those are gonna be our warm colors. So I'm gonna set those down, okay? And then your cool colors are your purples, blues, greens, anything that reminds you of like ice or something kind of cold. So these are my cool colors. These are my warm colors. I'm going to choose either warm or cool colors of crayons. I think for my crayons, I'm gonna choose to use my cool color. Well, I'm gonna choose to use the warm colors, okay? So I've got reds, oranges, yellows, and I'm gonna take any crayons you want to, and I'm gonna press pretty hard, and I'm just gonna do designs all over my page. I can do swirls, I can do circles. I'm gonna make my lines overlap each other. Big circles, little circles. I might do some straight lines, but I want you to just make your lines go all over the page, okay? Let's see, I might even have like another light colored pink, and just have fun. You can do as many different lines as you want to. They can connect. Okay, so that's step one. As I've got my crayon all over. Notice I didn't color anything in, I just did all of my lines. The next thing, you remember how we did warm colors with our crayons? So if you did warm colors with your crayons, we're going to use your watercolor now. And you can spend a lot more time doing this. I did it kind of quickly. So we're gonna use our cool colors for the watercolor. Now, if you chose cool colors for your crayons, it's gonna be the opposite. But since I did my like fire colors, I'm gonna choose my cool colors for the watercolor. So when you do watercolor, you take your brush, dip it into the water, and you wanna get your watercolors pretty wet. Hopefully you can get these at like the dollar store, okay, if you don't have any watercolors. So remember, it's our blues, our purples, our greens. Once it's filled with water, you're gonna get it really, really wet. And then you're gonna start to paint over. And the cool thing, when you paint over crayon, you'll start to see the crayon come through. So when you're painting with watercolor, the neat thing is I'm gonna rinse it off once I change colors. I'm gonna dip it into another color. I'm gonna paint right next to this. If I paint onto the edge while it's still wet, the colors blend in a neat way. And I wanna show you something too. If I don't put a whole lot of water, if I put a whole lot of water, it's gonna get lighter. So if I just add water to it, this will get lighter and lighter. But if I put a lot of the paint, it's gonna be much darker. So while my watercolor is still paint, you can just play around with it and take all your different blues and run them into each other. Maybe you paint in a certain area. Maybe I wanna paint in those circles or paint around them. And just have fun painting your entire page and covering your whole page with watercolor. But go back and forth between different colors. Play around with it. See what happens when you add dots to it. See what happens when you do lines or you do squiggles. Or maybe your watercolor is a little bit dry. Let's see what happens when I take my green and put it on top of the blue. It wasn't quite dry yet, so kind of blend it in. Let's see if it's dry over here. Yeah, you can still kind of see it. So just play around with your watercolor and have fun doing that. I'm gonna work on painting my whole page and making sure that I have watercolor all over my page. And then we're gonna come back to this and I'm gonna show you the final step of something that you can do. See you in just a second. Okay, so I have finished painting my entire page. And I want to remind you of something to not get frustrated. Maybe you were painting and it kind of mixed together and you thought, oh, I don't like that. The amazing thing is there's not really mistakes in art. You can just take let's say it all blended together and you can just go with it. It's okay. There's not a perfect way to do it. That's why I love watercolor too, because it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to stay in the lines. The other thing is that this is mine, and I'm really proud of it. I like what I did. I hope that you like what you did too. Mine looks totally different than yours, doesn't it? So if you look at yours, it's gonna look different than mine. It's gonna look different than mine because you are different than me. But I am beautiful and so are you. If we were all made to be exactly alike or look exactly alike, that would be very boring. So I wish that I could see your artwork. I bet it's phenomenal. We're gonna take your piece of paper that has your really cool, it looks kind of like marble, doesn't it? Do you see some of the places where it blended together? Mine is all dry, so if yours isn't dry yet, you're gonna have to set it aside for just a minute and you can pause this and come back when it's really dry. You can even use a hair dryer if you have a hair dryer where you are, if you want it to go a little bit faster. But mine is already dry, so I decided that I'm gonna turn this into a card. It might be a little bit big for that, but I'm gonna fold it in half. Maybe you can cut it or you can just have a really big card if you have a big piece of paper. I'm gonna take my piece of paper, line up my corners, and I'm gonna fold it in half. Okay. So I can turn my card this way. I can turn my card this way. I can use the back. There's not really a front or back. You can use whichever side you like the most. That's the awesome thing about not drawing or painting something specific. It's just all really cool designs. I'm gonna tell you why we're gonna make these into cards in just a second. So you can leave it as a card just like this if you want to, and then you can write on the inside of it. But I'm gonna show you something else fun that we can do. This is where I use, it's called a fine tip Sharpie, but you can use just a big regular Sharpie. You can use just a regular pen if you have it. I'm sure you could even do this with pencil. So anything you have to write with, a marker, anything will work. Don't go, oh man, I don't have that. If you have something to write with, you can do this, okay? I'm gonna take my Sharpie, and do you see all of these little places here where maybe I've got this little edge of where the watercolor meets right here? Maybe I've got these really cool edges where they blended together. I'm just gonna take my Sharpie and have fun tracing some of those lines. Or maybe down here, in between this little swirl here, maybe I decide to add in some straight lines where I'm not following the watercolor. Maybe I like the circle up here and I'm gonna draw another little circle inside of it and then maybe another one outside of it. So you can have fun, you can add designs. I've done this before where the entire thing I covered with Sharpie and I had all these designs. It takes a really long time, but it's kind of fun and it's nice. You just make up your own designs and swirls. You can follow along and trace the watercolor. So once you're done and you feel like, I like that, I think that's nice, you can do the back too. You can do the back of it. I want you to take your card, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about, is there somebody that really needs encouragement today? Is there somebody that needs to feel loved? Maybe they're sad, maybe they feel alone, maybe they just need to know that they're special or they're beautiful. So I want you to take a second, close your eyes. I want you to think about that. And this is who your card's gonna be for. And if for some reason you can't send it to them, then take a picture of it and get somebody to send it on their phone to send it to them. But why don't you make this card be for somebody else today, somebody that needs encouragement. And you can make a ton of these cards. What if you did tons and tons of cards like this and you mailed these to different people that needed it, or you took pictures and sent it to people that needed it, and you just open it up. Can you imagine if you got a card and you open it up and it just said, I think you're amazing, I think you're special, and it was this hand-painted, gorgeous card by you. Don't forget to sign on the back. Sign your name because it's your piece of artwork. So have fun with this. Use your Sharpie. Like I said, you can kind of just make these cool line designs. You can make your own shapes. I can do this for a really long time. It's really fun, just kind of tracing these designs. You'd be surprised how it's called therapeutic. That's the name for this. That means kind of makes my mind rest. It kind of just makes me go, whew. And you might need that right now. You might need something that makes you go, whew. So I hope you had fun doing this, and I hope that this makes somebody else and you feel special at the same time. And you can follow along and we'll do another project together. See you soon.